guys, what's up? My name is Bianca Arielle. I'm an artist, a writer, spoken word performer, and I'm here to talk to you today about being an empath and how it's really, really important for us to set up healthy boundaries with our loved ones, from families to friends to lovers, so that we don't drain ourselves as we understand other people and their emotions and what they go through. I was an only child, and I grew up in an environment where the nurturer, the adult, I would do a lot of observing, and I would want to do the opposite in terms of how that person would make me feel. So I made it a point to be an extra communicative, extra understanding person, because I never wanted to make anyone else feel how I had been made to feel in the environment that I grew up in. So I feel like that was the beginning of me molding into the empathic person that I am today. And also being an only child, I always only had myself to turn inward and communicate with. So I naturally always did a lot of self-reflecting, maybe more than the average or the next person who comes from a family who has, many siblings and a lot of other distractions. I didn't have too many distractions to have, aside from, dealing and facing myself and constantly observing and reflecting. So I feel like all those influences molded me into the kind of person I am.
I guess I realized that I was an empath when things ever took a wrong turn in my very strong friendships or my early relationships. I realized how much more invested I would be in trying to solve problems and caring about other people's feelings. Primarily, my first boyfriend that I had in high school, he had gone through a lot. He had a lot of reasons to be damaged. And I put his troubles on my back, and I kind of played that superwoman role. And that was probably the first relationship that I realized that's, you put yourself in a position and you allow yourself to be drained. And that's when I realized this is an unhealthy pattern that I follow when I care about people and I'm able to understand what they're going through. We all have these reasons that we might be broken, per se. So this person that I was dating, they were very broken, but I did have my own brokenness in areas in me that needed to be healed. But in the equation of him and I, it didn't really matter as much as his well-being. And you give and you give and you give, and you're coming from this place of genuineness and authenticity of how much you care about someone. But then when you realize that you're different from the other person, they don't do the same exact thing, and that's when you realize this is a problem, because my needs aren't being met the same way. And that's when it becomes dangerous, because these things are kind of luxuries, but when you just give them frivolously, people don't realize that they feel entitled to something that's actually a luxury, and that's where things get dangerous. What I meant when I said this is a luxury, to me, I think it's important that people realize that relationships of all sorts are privileges. So getting to know someone and being able to be intimate and close to someone and receive whatever it is that their energy has to offer, that's a privilege. It's a luxury to receive someone in that real of a way. You know what I mean? So that's where things get taken for granted, basically. They don't realize, because you're just giving and giving it, because you as an empathic person, you understand what they need, sometimes even more than they understand themselves, because you're emotionally intelligent. So you're able to put yourself in their shoes and really feel and understand that as a human being, you're just being a really empathic person is a fancy phrase for a very good person, a very good human being, basically. So with that being said, the idea of me needing to save people, do I feel like I need to save people? For me to answer that honestly, I would have to say yes and no, because the yes comes from, yes, I care so much about other people's feelings when I feel like I can help them. I do feel like I have almost a duty or responsibility, but then I say no because that's half of the problem. You know what I mean? We're not here just to simply save people. A lot of the times, all we can do is just be a supportive presence, and people have to save themselves. So I want to say yes, but I'm going to say yes and no, because that's actually a problem. You can't save people all the time. Actually me trying to save people, I can also transfer that into always seeing the best in people, focusing on people's potential. That's a dangerous thing as well, because you have to take people at face value. So trying to save people, quote unquote, has led me to dangerous situations. The last 2 relationships that I called myself trying to have, I found myself in emotionally and physically abusive relationships with people, where I could have potentially avoided these situations had I put my worth first. But I constantly put the other person's emotions and their needs and how they might feel and what they might even think before my own. When we do things like put our worth to the side, our value diminishes. So this also gives people the okay to treat us any old way they want to. When we don't implement boundaries, they have no boundaries. They're not going to put boundaries in how they're going to treat you down themselves. Like, you have to lead by example with the relationship that you have with yourself, and people will follow the guide. So I feel like I struggled the most with me being a person who feels like I'm built on love and I am love, and love is all we need. The idea of unconditional love, which is something I always felt that I wanted for myself as well. From places maybe I didn't get it, I feel like I almost displaced the idea of unconditional love and tried to give out what I didn't receive. And unconditional love, it's a double-edged sword phrase. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because really, to have healthy relationships, your love does have to come with some conditions. So with that being said, just because you implement boundaries, it doesn't mean that you don't love the person or love them any less. But there just has to be guidelines for safety, for respect. Unconditional love, yes, but unconditional love doesn't equal no respect. So to piggyback off of my last statement in terms of saying unconditional love can't exist without respect, right? That's almost like an oxymoron, because unconditional sounds like there's no boundaries. But love cannot lack respect. So the two can't coexist. So if you're going to demand respect, there has to be boundaries in the box of unconditional love. That makes sense. So from my experience in the cyclical fashion where I seem to be running into broken people, because only hurt people, right? I realized that I think a lot of the people who wound up hurting me, I think at a point in time they used to be empaths themselves. And I think that they have this defense mechanism, form of anger and aggression, to keep them sustained from feeling any pain any longer, from putting other people first and forward. Because these people are now very malicious, very vindictive. They have chips on their shoulders, and it's very obvious that they need healing. But also, when you're an empath, you're a light, and the same way like light attracts light, light also attracts flies, and light attracts broken people because you're a healer. So that's a primary reason why it's very important for empaths to dig deep down and do their inner work to make sure that we know how to protect ourselves. Because when you're attracting broken people, you gotta stay armed. You don't want to become a broken person trying to help other broken people. I think one of the main sources of a sign of brokenness is attachment. And a lot of the times in these situations, the relationship started out with them being more drawn to me. And by the end of it, we wound up equally attached to each other. And attachment is just never healthy. And I feel like that was a sign of how I would lose myself in the equation of putting me so much to the side and to the back burner, that almost their pain became something that I knew so familiarly that I was almost like addicted to their pain, in a sense of either trying to, I wouldn't want to not give up before I would walk away, because as an empathetic person, you feel like it's your duty to heal the hurt. But that's when things get dangerous. I can say though that in situations where I did practice my self-respect and my self-love sooner than later, that I did leave impressions on those friends or lovers that I would give my empathic advice to, in terms of, they might be butting heads with someone else. They might have been conflicting with a friend or a family member. And I was always able to kind of, what's the word, devil's advocate, play neutral, and put both sides of the fence into perspective for the person. And I can say that 9 times out of 10, I helped save like a relationship that way. And me giving them that advice to think about where the other person was coming from and how they might have felt like while these two people were going back and forth. Also, it's important though as an empath to not be an enabler. We can do that too, often because we just give this love. We're almost like coddling someone who they need to feel what they're kind of asking for them to grow, which is, sometimes going through the pain is the only way. You can't go around the pain. You can't get protected, blocked, nurtured, coddled through from the pain. You have to just go right into it. And that's what I mean when I say, when I like kind of implemented like my self-love sooner than later, the messages were received better. So don't be an enabler. Don't be an enabling empath. That's important. My advice to any individuals who feel that they are broken, first things first is to not be so hard on yourself. Acknowledging that you are broken, thus far you've done half the work. All of us have been, life throws shit at all of us. All of us have reason to be broken. So being able to be open and honest and acknowledge, pat yourself on the back for that so far. Once you do that part, I suggest a little bit of isolation. Not in a, over the edge kind of way, but it's so important to clear your space of other people's energy, even negative and positive. You just need to get in touch with yourself inward. Once you do that, then you can step back out into the world, and your interactions will feel different, and it'll be new experiences. But you have to move forward slowly and keep that open-mindedness in terms of how you see other people. You can't continue to see the world through like broken eyes, because you won't heal that way. So you gotta move forward and kind of look at the world as like a new page without any of the scarring on it. Because when you see things from like a scarred perspective, there's a whole bunch of fear and insecurity and pain attached to it that you won't heal that way. And then moving forward as an empathic person, someone who's in my shoes, I would kind of give them almost the same advice, to not be so hard on yourself as an empath for maybe allowing someone to take advantage or misuse your gifts and your powers, because your intentions were in the right place. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. It's really just up to you, like how you're gonna move forward from here. Now that you may have been equipped with more experience on how to deal with maybe some type of narcissistic behavior, quality-driven person who they couldn't seem to put your needs ahead of theirs genuinely, how you did at any point. Because, sometimes people can pretend for a moment that they do those things. People pretend real easily. But now you're equipped with the experience on the red flags of these kind of people. So now I would tell you, stay clear of those kind of people. Not everyone deserves your help or your energy. Some people are better left for the universe to just deal with them. And as an empath, I would also say, just remember and acknowledge how powerful you really are, because people need you. You don't need them. You don't need the extra baggage that they came with. They came to you for your help because you're powerful and you come from a place of love, and love is always going to win. So you should constantly always remind yourself that you're a winner, even when it feels like you've lost a lot of things. Alright, I want to thank you guys for listening to me and receiving my stories and my messages. Again, my name is Bianca Arielle. You can find me on all social media platforms at Bianca Arielle. That's the letter I before my name. Arielle is spelled with 2 L's and an E. I have a poetry project, a poetry album out on all platforms. You can pull it up. It's called Perfectly Human. And before I go, I wanted to share with you a piece that I felt kind of could empower anyone who's on the opposite side receiving end of this and was down to listen to what we're talking about. This might inspire you. Superhuman. I feel regular sometimes. Average, ordinary, unbothered, uninspired. I don't like it. Strangely and sadly enough, I'd rather have the ground on fire beneath me, singeing my bare feet so that I learn to get my 2 steps right around the heat of the haters that exist in these streets, twinkle toesing with the night sky as I'm high, forgetting everything I just did. I'd rather go searching for parts of me and other people if it means I get to experience a part of them no one else ever knew existed. I like to bounce back. See, comfort begets a different type of loneliness, and I hate to say it, but I think that since struggle made me, I don't know what I would do without it. It's one of the greatest love-hate relationships I've ever known. When sadness becomes something like a second home, you don't tear the house down. You open the windows and you let more light in. You bring flowers and new company over. Because as you grow older, you begin to look at that old feeling as though it were a relative to you. You know you needed it to grow, even though it hurt you. See, life is completely ironic at all times. Yeah, you might fall and land on your back, but the first thing you'll be looking up at is the sky. Why would you ever deprive yourself such an incredible view? A limitless image constantly reminding you that you too can fly. I think I feel the most alive when inside I feel like I could die. But then I don't. I survive. I am a superhero.